Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 266, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph. I will put in the little screen here that shows you where you can find me across the internet and how to contact me. Okay, so today is Sunday, December 10th. It is a very blustery and wintry Sunday. We do not have nearly as much snow here in our little corner of southwestern Pennsylvania as a lot of people across the country, including the South. What is up with that? Oh my gosh, that's so crazy that some of you have had snow way down south. Anyway, we've got a dusting, I would say. It's not even an inch, but it's pretty, and it was flurrying off and on earlier today. So it always kind of makes me feel like I'm in a snow globe or something, especially when I'm out here in the porch room because there's all these windows, and I mean, you can see out here, it's white, it's pretty, and you can also see that it is quite blustery. You can see those trees blowing. And here's my little Christmassy reindeer friend. I used to have him sitting like this on a window in my bedroom at my house, and so last weekend, I guess it was last weekend, when my son and I were decorating for Christmas there, I found him and I brought him here since I'm not really at my house in the bedroom very much, so he's just hanging out with me up here. How are you? I hope you've had a good, I don't know, it's been over a week since I recorded, although I did do a December extra video this past week on Monday, I think I did it. That was my KnitLife survey video, so if you missed that, it's out there as its own video. I might do some more. I'm planning to do some more December extras, which I realize we're getting into December. If I'm going to do them, I should probably do them. I do have one that I'm planning. I hope to have time to record it tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. But they're kind of fun just doing the extra videos because I don't have time to do a lot of extra stuff in my regular episodes usually. And today is going to be no exception to that because I've got a lot to show you. Plus, we have the November Knit-Along prize winners that I'm going to be announcing. I apologize for it being so far into December before I've gotten to record, but that was the downside of recording my last episode, I think, on the final day of November. Because, you know, it was still going on for November. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know I'm either going to put the prize winner part of this at the very end of the podcast, not during the knit-along segment, so it'll be like after the shop news part, or I'm going to just put it in its own little video. I will let you know that by the time I get to the end of this episode, depending on how long it has run. I just don't want this to go way over an hour, which it often does when I have to do a huge amount of prize winner announcements. So we'll play that by ear, and I'll let you know how I'm going to play that when we get to the end of the podcast. Or you can check the show notes, because by then it'll say. Anyway, I hope you've been having a good week and a half or however long it's been. It's been good for me. I've been enjoying my December so far, and I'm sure I'll be telling you more about that throughout the episode. I am wearing my antler cardigan today. I actually had a scarf on earlier too, but it's a little warm in here for that. So just my antler cardigan. I love this cardigan. It makes me so happy. So anyway, let's get on with the knitting part of things, shall we? I've got finished objects galore to show you today. Well, maybe not galore. I don't know. A lot. I've got finished objects. So the first finished objects I have to show you are the Patons Croy socks for my son. Yay, they are done. They are giant, but they are finished, and I'm very happy with them. I hope he likes them. I think he will. Yeah, not really much more to say about these. You've been seeing these for quite a while. Where I had to join yarn was actually not too far before the toe. And in both socks, it pretty much just blended in. There's really no noticeable, you know, change in the colors. So I was really happy about that. Actually, right here on this sock where I came back to working in the round after the heel flap, that's probably the most noticeable color change. But on the second one, or Actually, I don't remember which was the first and which was the second, but on this one it's fine. He's not going to know. He's not going to care. So anyway, the Patons Croy socks are done. I'm super glad to be finished working with this yarn. As pretty as it is, it was just a struggle. I have one more set of Patons Croy in my stash, like 250-gram balls. I may have to take a break from Patons Croy for a while though, so we'll see. But those are finished. You can find all the information about that project on my project page. I'm not going to go through it all again. The other finished object here, I'll put this one on a sock blocker. Those other ones would have been way too huge for any of my sock blockers. Is another pair of finished socks, and this is the ones that I'm going to give my mom, which these, if you remember, the Bold Berry Swirl socks. I had finished the first one during Stash Dash this past summer, and the second one was on the needles. So here's the first one. Well, here's one of them. Again, I don't remember which was the first and which was the second. But basically, I was on the gusset decreases on the second one when I stopped working on it last summer. And so I just picked it up, and I think I finished it within a day of the last time I talked to you about it. It was super fast and easy. So it's just a plain vanilla sock, another heel, heel flap and gusset sock. And yeah, there's really nothing exciting to tell you about that either. This is my standard 60 stitches, US ones. It worked fine. Sending them to my mom for Christmas, so she will have another pair of socks to add to her collection since she is now, a hand knit sock lover. Okay, let's move on. I have a ton of project bags sitting right here next to me. I have kind of a knitting adjacent project that I will call a finished object, although it's not at all knitting. It was pom-pom making using a Clover pom-pom maker. Earlier this week, actually I guess last week since today's Sunday, I just got an itch to make pom-poms. I had seen somebody's Instagram post from, I believe it was from Fiberspace down in Old Alexandria down by DC, where they had decorated with a whole bunch of pom-poms for the holidays hanging from the ceiling, and they were all like neutral kind of colors. It was super pretty, and I think that's what got the idea in my head. And so I had these pom-pom makers. I have this one, and then, sorry, I have a hair in my eye or something. I have this one, which is a smaller one, and then I have a larger one. But I pulled out the smaller one. I'd never used it before. I bought it like probably a year and a half ago. Had never really used it. I hadn't used it at all. It was still in the package. So I opened the package, got this out, and I decided I was going to make Christmas pom-poms. They're hanging up here. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to swivel this and show you. There. Can you see them? They're all hanging from this shelf that's right above the door of the porch room that goes into the main part of the house. I don't know. If that didn't show up super well, I might try to put a picture in instead. But they were so much fun to make. Totally addicted. I made like 7 one morning, and then I had to make myself stop, and then that evening I made 6 more. So, is that right? 5 more. Yeah, because there's 12 up there. I have a bin full of Ella Rae Classic, which is just a 100% non-superwash wool that I recently brought here from my house. It was in my basement, deep stash, like deep, deep stash. I purchased most of it when the yarn shop I used to work at was closing. It's just a really nice workhorse wool. It's very much like Cascade 220, quite frankly. Pretty much the same yardage. I think it has like 219 yards per skein. It's a really nice wool, and I guess I kind of forgot that I had it. The thing that's different about it than Cascade 220, at least the Cascade 220 I usually buy, is I prefer the heathered colors from Cascade 220. And Ella Rae, well, I do believe they have heathered colors. All the ones I had were all solids. And I like the variations in the heathers. The solids tend to be a little boring. But anyway, I had perfect colors to make Christmassy colored pom-poms. I've never had the urge to decorate with pom-poms before, but for some reason I did this year. So they're up there looking all cute and happy, and I wasn't really sure what my husband would think of them. I thought he might think they were weird, but I brought him out here to see them the next morning because he hadn't come out the evening before, and he's like, oh, that's really cute. So he doesn't spend a lot of time out here in the porch room. This is more my happy area than anything. But anyway, this is what I've got left. Oh, here's actually, I do have a 13th pom-pom, but there's a story behind that one. So yeah, these are the 4 colors that I used. I don't have ball bands for this dark green one. I have no idea what color it is. But the other green, the brighter green, was color number 29. The red is called Brick Red, and it was color number 21, and then white is just color number 01. So this is what an LRA Classic ball band looks like, or at least it used to. I have no idea. They may have updated them because this yarn is over 10 years old, easily. Anyway, when I got done making the first 7 pom-poms, I could not resist casting on a hat. I just desperately wanted a Christmas stripy hat. And again, that's not really a thing that I've ever had a desire for again, but I did. And so I made myself a hat, and then I decided it needed a pom-pom. And so here is my Christmassy stripy hat with a big pom-pom, and I used the bigger pom-pom maker to make this pom-pom, but that's why I have a smaller one too, because I did a small one first, and then I decided that I wanted it to have all the colors. Actually, the dark green is not in this one, and this was just the red and the light green, so I should probably incorporate this one up there, but then I didn't know, would it be bad luck to have 13 pom-poms hanging above my door? That seems a little ominous. I don't know. But anyway, I am so happy with this hat. I'm going to put it on for you. And obviously, I just manually striped this. I have a thing right now where, okay, I don't know where that's supposed to be. I have a thing right now about doing this tiny little stripe of contrasting color before getting into, okay, I need hair. Yeah. See, this is my thing with hats. This is why I don't wear them. I used to never wear them because I always thought I looked funny with hats on because I never know quite what to do with my hair. Stitched in Sweden. I'm totally blanking on her name right now. She was talking about having that same issue. She just never knows what to do with her hair. Anyway, I just thought it was super cute. I have worn it once. Now, what I will say is I am not used to wearing a hat with a pom-pom. I don't think I've ever worn one, maybe when I was a kid. But what I found is it feels really funny because it's sitting up there. And when I'm driving, I tend to lean back in my seat when I'm driving, but I can't because I've got like this big furry bumper back there now. So it kind of makes me sit up when I'm driving. That was a little bizarre. But anyway, I love it. Basically, I believe I cast on 80 stitches on US 5s, and then did 2x2 ribbing, and then I increased, I cast on 84 stitches. And then once I got past the ribbing, I did one round where I increased up to 100 stitches. I don't remember if I did. I think I did make ones, maybe. I don't remember. But anyway, I went up to 100 stitches because I didn't want it to be super tight. I wanted it to be a little bit, you know, a little slouchy, but not super slouchy. So I did that, and then I knit it a little longer than I normally would before I started doing the decreases again to add some slouch. And then I just did a series of 5 vertical double decreases to do all my decreases. I'm so sorry for blowing your ear out. Just had a tickle. And of course I don't have anything in here to drink today. So yeah, you can kind of see that. The pom-pom is sort of hiding the design that you get with that. But I really like that. And I did 6 rounds of each color except for that beginning red. That was only 3 rounds, I think. Until I got up to this green, and I was on the phone with my daughter at the time when I was working that, and I totally forgot to switch colors, which actually is fine because, again, the pom-pom hides it. So I'm super happy with this. It was fun. It was fast. I think I got it done in maybe a day. I don't remember. Maybe I did the pom-pom the next day, but yeah, so that was my fun, happy, Christmassy hat project that I did for myself. So, and pom-poms galore. I think I'm over my pom-pommy phase right now. Like, I might make more, but not today. Okay, so there was that. And then, I think those are all of the finished things. I did work on some hats, though, so let's go on to works in progress. I need to find the right bag. I worked on, well, actually, I cast on. Did I work? I don't, no. This was already cast on. This was the hat that I'm doing for my husband, and he is home today, but hopefully he's not going to be within earshot. I think he's out in the shed. Anyway, so I had cast this hat on back before Thanksgiving for him. This is the leftover yarn that I had made his Woolastook mittens from last year. So I'm just using up the leftovers, and it's just going to be a plain rib, or a plain beanie, but I did the ribbing extra long so it can be folded up, because that's what he wanted when I had him try on a charity hat that I knit earlier this year, and he really liked the design with the folded up brim, and it was nice and snug, so I'm basically doing that exact same thing. The charity hat was cast on with 84 stitches, and because I was casting this on at the movies with my son that night, and I didn't remember how many stitches, I used 88. I don't think those extra 4 are going to matter. It's still on the needle, so it's really hard to see what's going on here. But basically, I would say I did probably between 5 and 6 inches of ribbing here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5. I would say about 5 inches. And then I did, I think, 1 round in the earthenware red in stockinette, and then I switched over to sand. And I did 6 rounds in sand, and then I did 3 rounds in soft black, and then I'm going to do 6 rounds in sand again, and then I will do, no, is that correct? Oh my gosh, I don't remember what I'm doing now. I had a plan. I think I'm going to do the sand, the bigger stripes, and then the smaller stripes I'm going to alternate soft black and earthenware red. That's my plan, I think. I haven't worked on this in a few days, so I actually can't remember the plan. But since I've got another stripe of sand started there, I'm going to assume that was my plan. Because I do think I still have, yeah, I've got this much earthenware red left, and I would like to use as much of that as I can, since that's the one that there's the least amount of yarn. Anyway, I am knitting this on a US 5. It's a worsted weight, my Fiber Nymph Dye Works Cozy worsted weight superwash. I like the fabric I get with a 5, because it is sort of a light worsted, I would say, and it looks good at a 5. So that's one work in progress. Then, if you remember, last recording, I showed you the A Girl Thing hat that I started for my daughter out of my Bedazzled base, which I was using eggplant, and I was using that one-of-a-kind, just kind of a one-off colorway that I had started. Well, it had problems, and the more I knit on it, once I got into the stripes, the more I was lying to myself about the problems it was having. Number one, the needles, I'd gone up to 2.5s for the body of the hat, which is what the pattern said to do for fingering weight, but again, I'm a loose knitter, and the fabric was just too open. It was going to be drapey, but it was going to be too drapey. So I didn't like that. And then the colors just weren't working. I mean, as much as I wanted to tell myself they were, they weren't. I love the eggplant, and I think if I had done it with just a neutral, like silver or an undyed, it would have been great. But I didn't. I was using that variegated, and honestly, I think it was that mustardy gold in the variegated, which I love that color, but I did not like how it was working with the rest of the yarn. Long story short, I ended up ripping it out. But it was one of those things where, and I'm sure maybe some of you have done this, you're knitting something and you just keep telling yourself, it's going to be okay. Despite all the problems I know it's having, it's going to be okay. And you know it's not going to be okay, but you can't tell yourself that yet. Even the day I pulled it out of the bag to rip it out, before I ripped it out, I started knitting on it more. It's like, what is wrong with you? You're wasting your knitting time. You know you don't want to finish this hat. So I did. I ripped it out. It may become, that the eggplant yarn might become something else at some other time. And I like the pattern, but yeah, it just wasn't working. So I ripped that out, and I decided to cast on something else for Emma instead, because that was going to be for my daughter. And so the first thing I cast on for her, because remember, I do have one hat done for her for Christmas, but I decided I would do mitts, because Sarah, who is PA Knitwit, she had posted a picture of a really pretty pair of cabled mitts that she made herself out of handspun. And even though I didn't necessarily feel I needed to do them out of handspun, I really wanted to suddenly do something cabled. It was just that seed got planted. And so I did. I cast on a pair of mitts. This is the Sweet Fern mitt, which is a Clara Parks pattern, and it's out of her The Knitter's Book of Wool. So I cast this on, and I knit this probably within a day. I mean, over 2 days, but it didn't take very long. Started it one day, finished it the next morning, and I really like it. I'm knitting this out of some Cascade 220 Heathers in the Blueberry Heather color, which is color number 9655. This is just some in my stash, you know me and Cascade 220 Heathers. I love them. So this is the mitt. It too has issues. The pattern had issues. Number one, the chart, it's only a 4-row chart. It has errata, which I'm horrible at looking for errata before I start a pattern. And I think part of it is that so often I'm just knitting my own thing. I'm not following a pattern, that I don't think about it. But lo and behold, I got this first mitt finished. And I looked, at that point, I looked at the page, like the pattern page on Ravelry, and I can't remember why. Oh, I think I was looking to see, because there was issues with the thumb, which I'll talk about in a second. Anyway, as I'm looking at all the finished projects for this pattern, I'm noticing that everybody else's cable is going in the other direction. Like, why did everybody do their cables wrong? Which, you know, that's like the first clue that you have screwed something up when everybody else has done something wrong. Well, lo and behold, there was errata, and the errata is the cable pattern. The two little charts for the cables were transposed. And so it's supposed to go like this on the mitt. That's what it's supposed to look like, but mine goes like this. And you know what? I don't care. It's fine. It's pretty. I really like it. It's a little odd. I mean, I feel like it's not centered, and everybody else's also looks centered. I'll be interested to see how the left mitt turns out. I have the second one started, and it is a right and a left mitt. It's written for, you know, the thumb to be offset. So this is what my second one looks like so far. I have the feeling, though, that the thumb is going to go in like right about here, and if that's the case, this one is going to be more centered, I have the feeling. Now, I will say, I was looking up the errata on my phone, and when I clicked the button for errata, or the link for errata, it just took me directly to the corrected cable chart. I'm a little suspicious if maybe I'd do it on my computer, if maybe it would actually take me to a page that might have other corrections, and maybe there was some sort of a correction for where the cable is situated or where the thumb is situated. I don't know. But I really have to like squish this over on my hand, like pull it over to make it look at all centered. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out once I get the second one done. But yeah, my other issue with this was the thumb, because I don't know if I read the pattern wrong and got confused, because you do this weird thing at the beginning, like you cast on a certain number of stitches, and then in the very first 2 rounds, you're increasing right away. I don't know what that was all about. Like, why wouldn't you just cast on the number of stitches you needed? Unless she wanted it to be pulled in a little bit at the bottom. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But you did those increases with knit front and back. And then you get up here, and I think the first thumb gusset increase was also a knit front and back, and then it switches over to make ones. When I first did the thumb gusset, I was doing this, I think I was at my house that night, and I was watching a movie with Christopher, my son, and it called for putting stitch markers in so that you had your thumb gusset, you know, offset. I was being lazy. I didn't get the markers out, and so I was just sort of throwing my increases in where I thought they were supposed to be, and I think I was goofing and not doing the make ones, and I was doing knit fronts and backs, and then it's like knit in pattern, and it's like, but what pattern? Because when you do a knit front and back, you always end up with one stitch that looks like a purl, and oh my gosh, my thumb was totally a hot mess. And so I ended up tearing it out back down to the bottom, and then the next day I did it over using stitch markers, and I just did all of the increases as make one rights, make one lefts, which is actually how I think the pattern is written. At that point, though, I knew what I was supposed to be doing, and so I was no longer paying attention to the pattern, or I knew what I wanted to do, basically, because I know enough about mitt construction and gusset, thumb gusset construction that I just went rogue and did my own thing. Anyway, then when I picked up the thumb stitches, I also added ribbing at the end of the thumb because it doesn't call to do that in the pattern, but I didn't want the thumb to roll, so I've got some ribbing up there. I mean, all in all, I think it's super cute. Hopefully Emma will like them. If she doesn't, I'll keep them because I love them, and I love the yarn. I have to make sure to tell her she can't throw them in the wash, though. So anyway, the second one is as far as where I need to start doing the thumb gusset, but that's as far as I got on that one. But it's a super fast knit. The other thing is you're doing, you know, the gusset increases every other round, but you've got the cabling that's happening every fourth round. However, those two don't coincide. Like, it would be so much easier if you were doing increases on the same round that you were doing a cable. It would be easier to keep track of mentally, and oh my gosh, yeah. It wasn't anything difficult, but I was having issues with it. So that was probably really confusing. The first mitt, though, took like 33 grams of yarn, I want to say. So I'm definitely going to be using most of this skein of yarn just on this pair of mitts, but cables do take up extra yardage, so that's not a surprise. Anyway, I really like the mitten, or the mitt, even though the pattern has its issues, so be sure to look at the errata if you want to make those. But it did scratch my itch for doing a cable. Again, it's a simple cable, so I can do it without a cable needle. Yeah, it went super fast, and I really enjoyed it. It was very easily memorized, even though I memorized it wrong because the pattern in the book was wrong. And I also enjoyed the fact that I was actually using a pattern that I already owned in a book, because that doesn't happen super often. So, all right, so let's see. I worked on that. I'm going down my list here to see what else I need to show you. The other thing I cast on, there was lots of casting on this week. Did you notice? I cast on the gusseted helmet liner pattern that I'm making for my middle child, my younger son. So let me see if I can find here's the picture of it. I made a bunch of these for Christmas several years ago. I think I told you this. And his ended up with holes because he wore it hard and wanted another. He wanted me to fix that one. I'm like, dude, I'll just make you another one. So I've cast that on, and I got through the neck part and then the part that they call the neck stand. Although at that point I ceased to follow the directions because I seemed to do that. And you were supposed to do that on a different needle. I did not do it on a different needle, and so now the next part of the pattern I can't do because I do actually need it to be on a different needle, but it had been long enough since I had made these that I totally forgot. The construction's kind of crazy. I mean, it all works out. It's one of those patterns I find that I just have to trust the pattern. And it all works out, but I forgot that. So the pattern is by Ellen M. Silva, and it's on Ravelry. It's a free pattern. And I am knitting it out of Katia Azteca, which is actually the same yarn that I used to make the same son's Afghan a couple of Christmases ago. So his helmet liner, or balaclava, I'm calling it a balaclava because his is not going to be a helmet liner. Here's the label. It's color number 7801. I think, I'm not actually even sure if this is still in like if this is a discontinued yarn or not, but I had it in my stash, so I'm just using it up. It's super warm and squishy. It's a little heavier weight than what's called for the pattern, but it's knitting fine, and it'll fit him fine. It's a singles, but it is super wash. It's washable, I'll say that. It's half wool, half nylon, or acrylic, I guess. So I consider it to be machine washable. I mean, the tag says it's machine washable, not dryer. Like, you don't want to put it in the dryer, but whatever. It's fine. He's not going to probably wash it anyway. He'll just wear it to death till it falls apart and then say, hey, I need another one of those. And I'll make him another one. So anyway, that's on the needles. That won't be difficult to finish. I just have been lazy and haven't gotten out another pair of needles to work on it with. So that, and then I cast on one more thing, but I guess I didn't. Oh, actually, no. I cast on 2 more things. Okay. Well, I don't think I have them on my notes. Oh, I do have the one on my notes. Hold on. I have to try not to sneeze. Because I, again, don't want to blow your eardrums out. All right. For my daughter, I've cast on another hat because, and this isn't even going to be a Christmas gift. This is going to be a pre-Christmas gift. I'm hoping to finish this later tonight. I want to put it in the mail to her tomorrow. It's just sort of a kind of a pick-me-up gift because she's been having a little bit of a rough time lately. I won't go into any details. It's nothing specific. It's just some anxiety and depression issues that she's dealing with right now, and you know, it happens. So she was having a rough week, and I felt so bad because I'm here. She's 500 miles away. I can't be there for her. And so, like I'm sure many of you, my first inclination is I must knit you all the things to make you happy, which I know is ridiculous, but it's what I do. And so I cast on a hat for her. This is not just any hat though, because I specifically dyed the yarn this week so that I could do the hat. If you've watched the podcast for any length of time, you might remember the past several Christmases. We have garland that I usually hang up at my house, which is not up this year, and I wasn't going to put it up because it's looking kind of ragged, but I may put it up just for her, so it's up when she gets home. That we call the Whoville garland because it's just fake pine garland, but the Christmas balls that we put on it were these colors. They were like this pink and blue and green, these bright, fun colors. That she was the one who said, oh, it reminds me of Whoville from, you know, The Grinch That Stole Christmas, which is actually what started my whole Welcome to Whoville colorway, the idea for that. And so that was, you know, back a couple years ago. So anyway, I had sent her a picture of these Christmas pom-poms that I had made, and she's like, oh my gosh, those are so cute. She says, I'm so homesick. And, you know, that's neither here nor there because those aren't Whoville colors, the pom-poms, but that was kind of also what spurred on this idea because I thought, oh, I should make her pom-poms and send them to her to decorate her apartment with. But I wanted to do them in Whoville colorways in honor of our Whoville garland. But I didn't have any yarn on hand in those colors except in fingering weight, and I did try making a fingering weight pom-pom, which is sitting way over there. I'm not going to show you. It didn't turn out very well. It was sort of floppy. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to dye some yarn, and I'm going to make her hats. Since she said she wanted hats anyway, I dyed up this yarn. And I did actually dye up some and stuck it in the shop, too, just because I really loved how it turned out. But this is my DK Weight Beguiled base, and I don't know that you can really see the sparkle, but this is like my Bedazzled base, except in a DK Weight, so it's got sparkle, the stellina in it. And it's just a self-striping. Okay, I'm going to take it out of this little bag here. But since I've used half the ball already, so that's what it looks like, balled up. So I'm actually doing the exact same thing I did for that Christmas stripes hat for myself, except I'm doing it with a self-striping yarn, and it's a DK weight instead of worsted weight. And so, hey Muffles, what you doing? Go lay down. She's just staring at me over my sea of project bags that's on the floor. I cast on 80 stitches instead of 84, big deal. But I cast on US 4s instead of 5s, and then I went up to 5s, not 7s. That's the only difference in this hat. But I did the first round past the 2x2 ribbing. I increased from 80 up to 100 stitches because, again, she likes a fuller hat as well. And it's already quite long. Like, I always use my hand as my guide for when to start the gusset decrease or the crown decreases. That's a Yarn Harlot thing in her book Knitting Rules. She says about going up to like the middle, I think the middle knuckle is where she says that's usually where you would start the crown. Like if you look on a typical head, like from the base of the ear lobe up to there, that's about where you would start your crown decreases. And I've always used that, but this one is much higher. It's up to about, it's above the top knuckle, so almost up to the fingertip of my middle finger. I know, it's such a scientific way to measure things. But I did just start the decreases, I think, I did my first round of decreases. And again, I'm doing 5 vertical double decreases, so that gives me 10 stitches decreased each round. And I'm doing that every other round. I'm not going to put a pom-pom on her hat because I feel like I had this discussion with her one other year, if she wanted a pom-pom or not a pom-pom, and she was kind of in the not pom-pom phase or camp. So I think what I'm going to do once I'm done with the hat, whatever yarn is left over in the skein, I will make her a pom-pom or 2. I don't think there will be much yarn to do more than 2 pom-poms. And so that way she can either decorate with them, or if she wants to put it on the hat, she can. Yeah, so anyway, this is just a happy little pick-me-up kind of pre-Christmassy hat that I'm doing for her. Okay, last cast on. I swear, I was just cast on crazy this week. I ordered from D-Stash. I know, like I need more yarn. But remember, I started those socks out of the Regia colorway that I thought was what people were using as Christmas, and it turned out to be the wrong one. It had more gray in it. So I'm now making those socks for my husband. They're probably not going to be done for Christmas, but that's fine. He's getting a hat, so he'll have something knit. Anyway, I kept seeing this sock yarn on podcasts. People are making these socks, or on Instagram, out of this colorway. It's like, I need that colorway. And I was having trouble finding it in any shop, so I got on Ravelry, looked for D-Stashes. I found a few, and I found one woman who had the two 50-gram balls, and I bought them from her. She had used one of them, like she had started a project and frogged it, so some of it was already unwound. It's neither here nor there. For as much as she used, I could probably just take that part off and not use it at all. But because I won't use the whole 50 grams on a sock. But anyway, it sat on my desk. The yarn came and then sat on my desk for a few days, and I'm like, really shouldn't start these socks because I do not have time to knit on socks for me right now. But my curiosity got the best of me, and so I cast on the socks. This is as far as I've gotten, and I'm not planning to work on them anymore because by rights, I probably should have just waited and used this as my Christmas Eve cast on. And so I may just hold off and just use this as my Christmas Eve cast on socks, even though it's technically already cast on. The Christmas Eve cast on police are not going to come and get me. So anyway, this is color number, do I have it? I don't think I even have it written down because, oh wait, I have the tag in here though. The other skein did not have the ball band. So this is a Shakemar Regia design line by Arnie and Carlos. I guess this does come in the full 100-gram balls, but this, again, was 2 50-gram balls. But it's color number 3657. That is the correct one. If you want this one that sort of looks Christmassy, even though it's not really Christmas colors, it is 3657, not whatever that other one that I had used. So the thing I did differently, though, when I cast these on, is I cast them out on US zeros. I've always used, well, in recent history, I used US 1s for all my socks, 60 stitches for myself. And ever since that thing I talked about on Instagram where Susan S. Moore CT was asking people what needle size and what gauge they get for their fingering weight socks, and I realized I knit my socks way looser than everybody else because I was only getting 8 stitches per inch. Everybody else seemed to be getting 9. I thought maybe I need to tighten up my sock gauge. So I decided to do these on US Zeros as an experiment. Plus, this yarn seems to be a little lighter weight than the average fingering that I usually knit with, so I think it's a good choice. But I cast on 68 stitches. I did not want to go all the way up to 72, and I thought 64 might not be quite enough. Who knows? So we'll see how they turn out. It's an experiment. But again, I'm not going to be working on this sock anymore until I get a lot of gift knitting done. And the fun thing is, you know, my gift knitting, I'm enjoying all my gift knitting. I don't feel like any of it is like, you know, obligation-y knitting. I'm really having fun with all these projects. My floor is a mess. I have a big stack of project bags sitting here now. Anyway, so that is everything I have worked on. Oh my goodness, it has been a prolific 10 days or however long it's been. But it's okay because I've been enjoying it. It's been so nice. And honestly, I'll tell you what, this past week was a super struggle to get anything super productive done outside of knitting. Like, I worked every day, but I had to force myself to work. It was one of those weeks where all I wanted to do was just sit and knit. I would have been so happy, but alas. I actually do have other projects that I have worked on that I didn't show you yet. And I'm going to show them to you real quick because they're part of what I've been doing. And they're my December/Advent projects. So, you know, in Fiber Nymph Dye Works, I put out those Advent, well, I called them Holiday Countdown Mini Collections. I did yarn, and I did fiber, and then I did the yarn fiber half and half sets. I've been loving seeing you guys post on Instagram what you're doing with yours. Please continue to do that, and please tag me. Tag Fiber Nymph Dye Works so that I know that they're up there and I can see what you're doing. I'm having a lot of fun seeing that. But anyway, I am doing my own as well. I have all of the yarn, although I did not have any full balls of the yarn. I just had all the leftovers, which were not wrapped. I did not wrap my leftovers. So I did stick them all in a jar, though, and I'm just going to show you that real quick because you can't really see all the colors specifically. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but I've got this, my mom gave me this when she was purging baskets. It's a Longaberger basket set that has these 3 Longaberger mason jar kind of things in it. So it sits right here next to me. I don't have anything in the other 2 jars, but I stuck all my minis in the 1 jar. So it's made it super easy for me to just pull out the one every day. I've got my little cheat sheet list here so I know which one is which day. I have not done today's yet, but I've kept up with all the other days. So up to day 9. That is super exciting because I don't always keep up with stuff. But I have kept up with that. And I have kept up with the spinning. And I need to move some things. I have the fiber. I did have almost the full set of fiber. There were, I think, excuse me, 3 days that I did not have fiber for. But what I realized is I had like 2 of some days. So the days that I didn't have the correct day's fiber, I've just been doing like an extra from another day. And that's worked out pretty well. I did not have any for day 10. And I may just be okay with that. I haven't spun anything today because we weren't home earlier today. I have yarn or fiber I could use because I have 2 day 11s and I have 3 day 12s. Don't ask me how I ended up. I know that's not 3. 2 plus 3 is 5 though. That's where that came from. Yeah, so I don't know. I could spin 1 day 11 today and then a day 11 and a day 12 tomorrow for day 11, and then the other 2 day 12s on day 12. It really doesn't matter. But I want to show you because my sidekick is sitting right here. So I'm spinning them all on my sidekick. I have the jumbo flyer on it, or bulky flyer. I don't know what Shack calls theirs. But I'm just spinning every day on this one bobbin. I'm hoping I can get them all on one bobbin. And I love how it's turning out. I love seeing the colors. And I love this one here was day 8, I think. I might be wrong. But anyway, this was Magical Marshes. Oh my gosh, I love how this turned out. I know you can't see it super well, and I don't want to bump my computer with the spinning wheel, but I absolutely adore that. Someday I'm going to have to dye myself up a whole braid of that and spin that. But anyway, oh, poo, I forgot to bring something in to show you. Oh, well. I'll show it to you next time because I've got a lot to show you yet. Anyway, so yeah, I'm spinning all of that on there, and then when I'm all done, I am going to chain ply it. So it'll be a big, crazy skein of yarn. Again, hopefully I can get it all on one bobbin. And then I think I'm going to knit myself a big, just crazy, squishy cowl out of it. That's my plan, which is fun because I don't usually spin with a specific plan. Other than that blue BFL, which will eventually someday hopefully become a sweater if I have enough yarn. Yeah, it's still sitting over there staring at me. It's like, you're spinning all that other fiber, you're not spinning me. I'll get to you. I would really love to finish that before the end of this year. Oh my gosh, I would love to finish that and have that off the wheel before January. Anyway, so I've been keeping up with that. I've been keeping up with the knitting. I'm just the little mini yarns I'm just adding to my granny stripes blanket, which I don't have here to show you, but I'll show you eventually. I'm loving doing that. I'm getting about 1 stripe a day. So that should add a nice, you know, it takes about 3 stripes to add 1 inch to the blanket. So over the course of the 24 days, that would add about 8 inches. So that's not bad. The other 2 things though, I told you that I had purchased the pattern for Project Peace, which is a big shawl this year. And I said that I didn't know that I was actually going to use that pattern as my Project Peace project because it was super similar to the Otter pattern by Kate Davies. And I really liked that one better because it was garter stitch and I was going to be doing it out of fingering weight yarn. So that's what I started doing. Okay, let me see. I gotta find the right bag for that. So I started doing that, and I just thought I'll just work on the otter pattern. This is what it looks like. It's one of the haps from the Happet book that I talked about several weeks ago. So I've started it, and here's how far I've gotten. I have not worked on it every day, though. I really like it. It's so pretty. I love the colors. The yarn is Destination Yarns. This skein is her first class letter, I think, base. It's an MCN base in the Night Witch colorway, or not Night Witch, November Witch colorway. And if you remember, I split this skein into 2 balls, so I'm switching every 2 rows. Just because I did not want to risk having any major pooling going on in this. I wanted it to be nice and blended, and so far so good on that. Then the feather and fan section I'll be doing in this tonal colorway, which is Harvest Moon, I think. And that's in a different base. Anyway, so I was working on that. And then on the first day of December, I mean, that's when I started this, but I started this early in the morning, and then later that day, the actual pattern for Project Peace came out, and I looked at it, and I realized it's not quite as stockinette-y as I thought it was. There are garter ridges in there, and there's more of them than I was anticipating, and so, you know what, I thought, I'm going to do it too, because why not? So I cast it on using a Hazel Knits big wheel that I've had in my stash for a couple of years. I got this at Fiber Space in Old Alexandria 3 years ago when Melissa and I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool. We went to Fiber Space the Friday that night before, and there was a Hazel Knits trunk show. So I've had this big ball of Cadence, which is a worsted weight yarn, superwash worsted weight. No, yes, superwash. In my stash. I've never done anything with it. The colorway is Heirloom, and I love these colors. They're very autumnal. There's like 600 yards, I think, on here. Yeah, at least it says at least 600 yards. And so there's a DK weight version of Project Peace. And I believe you can either do a small one or a larger one. I'm doing the larger one. So I could do the entire thing out of this. Now, it's DK weight. This is a worsted weight yarn. It doesn't matter. It's close enough. What I will say is the construction is quite similar to the Kate Davies pattern that I'm doing, but it's different enough, and it increases at a more rapid rate. The other one has a gentler increase. This one does increase more rapidly, so it will be wider just in general, but it'll obviously be wider because it's a heavier weight yarn. So I have not worked on this every single day. Matter of fact, it's divided by ripples. I think I don't know how many ripples there are. And that's those garter ridges, basically. There's 19 ripples in the larger size, which is what I want to do. And then you start working the border. Is that right? I don't even know. I haven't read through this pattern enough. At some point you start doing the feather and fan. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, this is what I'm doing. I think I will probably use a contrasting color for the feather and fan part, though. I just don't know what yet. And when I get to that point, I'll make a decision, and I'll find something, or I'll dye something, or whatever. This sounds super rambly, I know. Suffice it to say, I have cast on another shawl that is going to look almost the same as the other one. It'll just be a different yarn, and in a different size, and a different pattern, but they're going to look similar. I don't know. I'm nuts. I've just got so much on the needles right now, but it's all making me really, really, really happy. And I don't care if I get either of those shawls done in December, frankly. I'm just happy to be working on them. Okay, that's it. That's all I've worked on. That's enough, right? Because I've been talking for 52 minutes now about all this. I told you this was going to be a long episode. We're going to move on. A year in the life of a knitter. I can tell you right now, I'm definitely going to be putting the prize announcements in a separate podcast. I'm sorry to make you do that, but I will put that, well, I've said that at the top of the thing. I will add a note at the top of the podcast so that if you're mainly interested in finding out who the winners were, you can know that you have to jump to a different podcast right away. And I'll include that in the show notes. And I will record it right after I'm done recording this. So it'll go up pretty much the same time. But yeah, I can't put it in the same podcast. This is just going to be way too long. All right. So let's talk about a year in the life of a knitter. I'm going to do the November winner announcements in the separate podcast. We're in December. It's whip management, and all I'm asking you to do is look at your whips. If you have lots of them like I do, because this is not all my whips. I've got tons of other whips. I've got some over there on the other side of the room. I've got some in my office. And just think about them. If they're ones that have been sitting around for a while, do you want to finish them? Do you want to frog them? Just think about that. Maybe mentally start planning, and then come back in January, because that's what our January knit along is going to be about, is finish or frog it. And otherwise, we're just taking it easy through December. Knit what you want to be knitting. Please come to the chatter thread and join us. It's been so much fun. I've, again, loved this year of community building that we've had through this thread. And several people have been saying how much they're going to miss this thread and miss this chatter if it doesn't continue in the new year. And I'm right there with you. I will also miss it. So please, please continue. I will make sure there are threads available for us to do that. I cannot say that there will always be prizes attached to the chatter, but I don't think there needs to be. I think I'm at least enjoying being able to talk to you guys and see what you're working on, and it's just been wonderful. Anyway, so that is December's year in the life of a knitter wrap up. Basically, we're just looking towards the new year. Next up, I do have the drawing announcement for the MEGAROW shawl, which is by Jennifer Lasson. And I announced this last time. I had a thread up, and I closed that right before I started recording. We had 14 entries. We had 13 entries, 14 posts. So I did a random number generator, and RNG chose post number 14. So it was the very last one, and that was Twisting Pearls, who is Eileen. So Eileen, congratulations. Please PM me on Ravelry when you hear that you are the winner, and I will get you connected with Jennifer, and she will gift you the pattern. So thank you to everybody who entered. My prompt was, please post something that has been bringing you joy. And Eileen mentioned her grandchildren, and she posted the most adorable picture of her little 5-month-old grandson. He is super cute. And yeah, grandkids definitely bring you joy. So thank you to everybody for your entries. I enjoyed reading what's bringing you joy. I hope everybody is having some joy in their life this December. And always, but you know, December's a nice month for joy. Again, I mentioned already that I did my KnitLife survey. I did that as a December extras video, and so you will find that on YouTube and iTunes if you're interested in seeing that. Again, I do plan to do another December extras video, hopefully tomorrow. I'll get that recorded. The prizes obviously are not a December extras, it's just the prize winners, and I will label it as such whenever I do that coming up. Lastly, I wanted to say I got a note from Holly, who is AASV Mom, I believe her Ravelry name is. You might remember her from back during the hurricane in Texas. She and her friend Jessica were collecting donations of knitting related goods for the knitters in Texas in her area who had lost so much. And she sent me a note this week saying, would you please pass on a huge thank you to everybody who donated. She said they got so much stuff. I actually posted her note in that thread, so that thread has been bumped up to the top again if you want to read it. But she said they got so much stuff, and she said a lot of it they couldn't identify who stuff came from, so she may not have been able to directly thank certain people, but they did say thank you. They were able to hand out a whole lot of stuff to people. Stuff to people and things and that, but you know what I mean. Please read her note. It was very nice. And thank you if you were able to donate. That's wonderful. Okay, that is everything I have for 90%. 10%, basically, it's been a good week. Even though I said I've been a little, really having to push myself to want to work because all I really want to do is cozy in and knit this week. It's been another good week, just relaxing, feeling very inspired to work on things. I have not started my sewing projects yet. Oh, there's a cardinal out on the tree. I just saw this bright flash of red. He's so pretty. He's probably the one that's been like pecking at our rear view, or that our side mirrors on our cars. He's nuts. Anyway, yeah, I have not started those bags, those Japanese knot bags yet that I need to do. I'm going to hopefully start cutting those out this afternoon though. That's my plan for later this afternoon. But other than that, I'm just enjoying December. I'm enjoying being up here at the mountain house. I'm enjoying the time I'm getting to spend at my house, even though it's not nearly as much. I love being at my house at Christmas, though, because I like how I decorate. And my son and I did put our Christmas decorations up last Sunday, and that was really nice. Anyway, yeah, it's just been a good December so far. I'm enjoying the colder weather. It's finally gotten seasonable. We don't have a lot of snow, but we don't usually have a ton of snow before January anyway around here. But it has been cold enough that I've been burning fires in the fireplace, which has been very cozy and lovely. And I've got one in there now, so that'll be even nicer if I can work on, sewing stuff, because I can do that in the living room. Anyway, shop news real quick. I wanted to let you know that I finally got the remaining shop inventory put up in the shop this past week, and that was all the fiber and the yarn gradients. So they are all in the shop, and since I hadn't been able to get them up prior to the sale that I did over Thanksgiving weekend, I have all of that stuff marked 15% off. You don't even need a coupon code. All the fiber and the yarn gradients are just automatically 15% off right now. And I'm going to leave them that way for this foreseeable future anyway. So if you're interested in any of that, check it out. There's a lot of really fun stuff. The other thing is I wanted to let you know I did finally get some more of the Christmas Tree Forest sock blanks dyed up. Here's one of them. So Christmas Tree Forest sock blanks. This is a sparkly one. Is it? Yeah, sparkly. But I have both sparkly and regular. I put these up a little earlier today, so honestly I don't know how many have already sold. But there's a fair few, well, not a fair few, there's a handful of these. I will say one of the sparkly ones had an oops. Some of my magenta dye kind of splitched on it right there. So this one is actually discounted a little bit. I mean, there's magenta all through this because it's one of the colors I used. So it won't be out of place in whatever you knit. It'll just, there'll be a little bit more of it in one spot. So this one's discounted a little bit. So I did these, and then I also did a handful of this design, which I had so much fun doing these. These I'm calling sprigs and baubles. So it's got pine sprigs on it, just tiny little pine branches with all these bright colored pops of colors, which I'm calling baubles because they look like little Christmas baubles or decorations. And then there's, you know, speckling of all sorts of bright colors too. So there's some of these in the shop as well right now, both on sparkle and non-sparkle blanks. As I already told you, that hat that I'm doing for my daughter, I did a couple of extra skeins of that, so you'll find that. And that I don't remember if I mentioned the name, Frosted Whimsy is what I decided to call it, because even though it's inspired by Whoville colors, I already have the Whoville colorways, so I didn't want to try to use that again. So I'm calling it Frosted Whimsy because it's got the white stripes in it, so that's kind of snowy and frosty, and then the fun, just whimsical colors, I think. So there are two on my regular DK weight base, which is Bonafide, which is what this is, and then there's the other skein that was in the set from what I'm using. So there's one sparkly set, or one sparkly skein, and then two on the regular DK weight base. And lastly, I did up this colorway. This is You're So Scrooged. And this is one of my regular Christmas colorways. I just didn't get it done whenever I did my update over Thanksgiving weekend when I did all the Christmas colorways. I don't know why I didn't, because I really like this color, but somebody's been knitting a pair of these socks and I keep seeing them posted on Instagram and I'm like, oh, I felt so bad that I did not do this color. So it's a 4-striper. The soft black is in between the two different greens and the red. It's just sort of a darker, kind of cynical Christmas color, I guess. You're So Scrooged. Yeah, so there's a couple of these up on Bounce and a couple on Bedazzled. So those are in there if you want to purchase those. I'll get them shipped out ASAP. Not that I think you'll be able to make, well, some of you probably do. Some of you knit really fast, so you could get them done for this year. But anyway, I wanted to thank you for your ideas for my favorites update, which will be happening later this month. I'll definitely work on some of those. I had a lot of requests for Guy colors. So I may do a Guy colors update sometime in the near future too. I don't know if it'll be during the favorites update, but I will definitely take that into consideration because I did have a lot of requests for Guy colors. The other thing is the Xenolith kits, the pattern by Sarah Jordan for that colorwork hat. There's still some of the Brights color kits in the shop, but I'm going to be doing more of the dark to peacock gradient sets, and that will be in the next update. And I'm also going to do just a few others, a few sets in 2 other color combinations just for fun. Yeah, so you can be looking for those in the next update. Okay, I think that's everything. We're a little over an hour. I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for watching. As soon as I hit stop on this, I'm going to switch my stuff around here and I'm going to record the prize winner video for the November Knit Along prize winners. There are 16, which is why I cannot possibly put that in this same video. It would be ridiculously long. So I will do that, and then I will do my December extras video hopefully tomorrow. So lots of videos coming from me. Have a good rest of your day. I hope you're enjoying this lovely Sunday. I hope it's a lovely Sunday wherever you are, whether you have snow or not. Anyway, take care, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.